also feels like we are now in like, it's like the 1600s. Like we have gone from like modern time into a weird like time like rift or something. It's quite strange.
Yeah. This is very much like a creepy version. This is a Midsommar's version of Brigadoon.
The Articulate Coven is the original, unofficial fan podcast and community for Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire, The Vampire Chronicles, The Lives of the Mayfair Witches, and The Immortal Universe from AMC and AMC+.
Welcome to the Articulate Coven. We are your hosts. I'm Joel.
I'm Ashley.
And we are the Articulate Coven. The Articulate Coven's the unofficial fan podcast and community for Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire and The Lives of the Mayfair Witches, both the original books on the series that they came out of and also the TV series that are now being produced by AMC. That's what we're talking about tonight. It's Mayfair Witch time once again. They put us on hiatus for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about the SNL anniversary, Ashley?
I guess not. I think only you, Joel. No, that's very exciting, but yeah, that's not their priority for sure.
Listen, Lorne Michaels has swept me up in his hype and his pomp and circumstance completely. First of all, I vividly remember watching the 40th anniversary show and like just flipping over all of the people that were there and all the moments that this thing was.
It's incredible. That show's been around for so long. It's such a like an anchor in our lives. I think that you and I both really, really grew up on SNL and loving it. It's
100%.
Fantastic. And we've been through
genuinely
so many different casts, good, bad, not so great, fucking phenomenal. Some people that are like huge, my huge favorite comedians these days came out of that show. So,
I mean, so much of American comedy generally, movies and TV also is like directly from the Lorne Michaels tree of comedic value, you know. The show is still very relevant, y'all. I think honestly, and not every week is good, and not every sketch is a banger, but a lot of them are though, and a lot of them continue to hold up.
Weekend
I gotta
Update
tell you,
has always been my favorite thing. Weekend Update, I've always loved. It's always solid. It
even when I don't watch the show, I watch Weekend Update.
Yeah, it continues to be hilarious.
100% agree with you. And especially in a time now where we're not, like, I literally made a video the other day about there's no monoculture anymore. And so, like, the things that your mom and dad see and the things that your children see are just not the same. And probably they don't cross over that much with what you see either. And that's just the nature of things now. SNL is one of those things that kind of still holds up, though, in a lot of ways. And a huge swath of especially the American populace still does see it. As we are recording this, I haven't seen the 50th anniversary special. It'll be airing at the same time, actually, that we're releasing the show for patrons. But I did see, and I just want to point everybody to this, there was a 50th anniversary homecoming concert on Friday night live at Radio City Music Hall. It was like 4 hours almost worth of music.
That's incredible.
Ashley, it was bangers, like from top to bottom. There were a couple of artists that for one reason or another were not quite up to the moment, it turns out. But even those moments were interesting and noteworthy and like, wow, time has passed and like things really do march on, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, it was awesome. There was some good comedy. There was a lot of amazing music. I don't want to spoil anything. If you haven't seen the lineup, like just go watch the thing, turn it on in the background or something. But there's some great music there. And again, I think that's Saturday Night Live has been as important for the musical contribution as the comedy. Honestly.
Yeah, a huge platform for musicians. It's fantastic. Yeah, it's such a big part of our cultural zeitgeist here in America too. So I think that I'm so glad that, number one, I can't believe it's still kicking after 50 years. That's fucking incredible. Like only soap operas do that, and maybe Grey's Anatomy. But it's pretty incredible. It's pretty incredible that it's still kicking. It's still relevant. It's still good. I still watch it. You know, I don't watch all of it all the time, but I'm like I said, I always watch Weekend Update. You know,
when they started putting pieces out on YouTube, I feel like that it's a perfect example of how they have continued to evolve and be relevant in the cultural moment. It's like, okay, nobody, statistically speaking, is watching you Saturday night at 10:30 or whatever.
Right.
But everybody can see that crap on YouTube and put out on Facebook and all the things. So
100%.
yeah. Anyway, if you haven't checked out that, even if you're not an SNL fan, go check out the music. The concert is really, really dope.
That music,
in the States, that's all on Peacock. I honestly don't know. I've got a Canadian client who was like, "Where can I watch it?" I'm like, "I'm not sure. Where do you watch Saturday Night Live?" I don't know. You get it up there. I know you do. Anyway, all right, let's get into this. First of all, a correction, and you and I think we mentioned this in our discussion of Blade last week, but for those that didn't get the movie night yet, here's a correction for us. Bookworm 1808 commented and said, I don't know if anyone has said this yet, but when Moira is saying she was sifting through memories before she was talking about her grandmother that had some form of dementia, she said her mother would take Moira to visit Meemaw to try and piece her back together. I don't remember them calling out the name Meemaw specifically, but we assume she was speaking about Deidre there. It is weird to think about in retrospect that she would refer to Deidre as Meemaw. I'm trying to think about the chain of, maybe it wouldn't be Deidre in that case.
If that
maybe
makes
it would have
sense.
been, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Who would have had dementia though, if not Deidre? Yeah, I'm not sure about that one still. Here's the bigger one though. Moira is mentioning Cortland being immortal. She's being literal there. That was why Rowan had turned him to stone last season, because she couldn't kill him. Lasher's reward to Cortland was immortality for helping him be born. Sorry if someone has mentioned it already. Also, I will admit, I'm not as bothered by the show changes, because while I really loved the first book, I actually hated the last two.
Heard. And respect.
Listen, and we've talked about this already on the show. The last two books, Lasher and Taltos, are very different than that first one.
Yeah.
And it really does become a whole. It is interesting where this TV show seems to be delving more into those books than the first one.
It is. It's very strange to me, but here we are, and we're rolling with it.
Right? We just got to roll with it. That's exactly it. All right. This one's from Gertie Z. These last two episodes show improvement, but I still find the episode Insiders cringy. Yes. Yes. God, yes. Okay. Ashley, you and I have gone like 2 or 3 weeks in a row where we've been watching these and recording quite early in the week. And my lovely wife, Kelly, has been not watching them with me early. She's been watching them on Sunday. We'll watch them together, except for the last couple of weeks. She hasn't watched them. And so it occurred to me, I have not watched the last like 3 episode Insiders. She caught up. And so I watched the episode Insiders. I was like, hey, holler at me when you get to the end. And I want to see
why this ruins everything.
Yeah. It continues to ruin it. Like, God bless our friend Esther Spalding. She does not know how to explain this show in a way that makes me feel anything but worse. Like, genuinely, a lot of times I will end the episode. I'll have liked the episode, and then she'll talk about it and I'll be like, that was shit.
Right. Sometimes it's best not to know what the creators were trying to do, and it's best to just experience how it makes you feel.
Yes. I find that there are those that are made to describe and discuss their work, and there are those that are not.
Sometimes we don't need to know how the sausage is made.
Not everybody is built for Q&As, okay?
No. Especially, no.
Gertie says, also, Harry Hamlin is 73. He's rocking that AARP card. Okay, you and I were discussing, we discovered the magic of Ancient Evelyn in the show, and we thought, I wonder if maybe Cortland isn't using some of that too, because I sort of don't buy, in the show he must be in his 70s or 80s, right? And Harry's not playing it that way. I agree, Harry's not playing it that way. Harry's just playing it at his age, though, y'all.
Which is, he's 73, and that's his version of 73.
Lord help us, may we all
be so lucky.
Lord, I mean, he can get it, y'all. Still,
yeah.
Lisa Rinna is proof, by the way.
She hangs out with him, and despite the things she's done to her lips, she remains hot as well.
Well, that's what I said. I said maybe it's just Lisa Rinna that literally is de-aging him. Actually,
they go to the same doctor.
You're right. All right. I want to thank Mandy B, a new patron.
Yay!
It's a really cool thing that they do when you join our Patreon, by the way, and you don't have to do it. It's not required, but there's kind of a welcome survey, and you can choose a list of like why you decided to join now, or what was the moment that made you decide, or something like that. And I think there's a place where you can give some feedback. That's what Mandy B did. She sent us a message. She said, "Hey guys, your show has been one of the highlights of my week for the last year or so. You never fail to make me laugh, even when laughter has perhaps been in short supply as of late.
True.
Thanks so much for being you and doing what you do. Mandy B in Houston." Thank you, Mandy.
Thanks,
And
Mandy.
I sent her a message back immediately. I was like, well, that's why we do it, honestly.
Thank you.
Like, yeah, we don't know any other way to be, and we're all living through this
together
pre-apocalyptic hellhole too. So like,
you just don't know what fresh hell you're going to wake up to, like, or just like the insanity that you just experience day to day. Like earlier, like a couple days ago, it was 80 degrees here, and then the next day it was 20, and we had tornado warnings in our state last night, and we're gonna have snow and ice storms in like 2 days. So I don't even understand what's happening around me where I live. So
man, that reminds me of the Lewis Black bit where he's talking about, he's somewhere doing a comedy bit and he was stuck in the hotel room. There was a storm. He opens up the window to look outside and there was snow with lightning behind it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They don't even describe that kind of weather in the Bible.
We have thunder snow here sometimes. Yeah, that's a fucking thing, you guys. Thunder snow.
It's not supposed to be like that.
No, it's not.
Here we had a 36 degree difference from yesterday to today.
It's insane.
The high was 36 degree different.
And we live 3 hours apart, like roughly 3.5 hours away from each other. In this,
it's weird out there, y'all.
Hellscape. It's weird out there. I'm just saying.
All right, let's get into this episode. Michaelmas. We had one good like guess or theory. You and I were like, are they teasing us with the fact that there's a character named Michael? I didn't think about Michaelmas being, it is a Catholic festival. That's a thing.
Well, if there's one thing that's for sure not going to be on my radar in general, it's a Catholic festival.
Jason Maddox had said last week, actually I think this was 2 weeks ago. Well, it was right after the last episode. My theory is Michaelmas is the Lasher backstory episode when they get to Glastonbury, possibly Donna Lath. So I do think that we're gonna have to get a backstory episode here, because they're doing like 3 different things from the book actually, and they're putting it together. At the end of this episode, by the way, I will say when we get towards the end, you and I are going to talk some specific book stuff. We'll save that in case you don't want to get spoilers. But you and I actually like kind of discussed one of these things previously and got it wrong. I was looking it up today and it was like, we were way wrong on that.
We were just making up our own shit. Yeah. Well, why not? Everyone else is.
Precisely. Okay. This was not the backstory episode, though.
No.
There is some interesting things, though, and I think overall I mostly enjoyed this episode. But boy, it turns out they are not just doing the second book, which is what you and I thought. They're going straight to the third book. And they're mixing and matching and word searching all the way through it, baby.
Yeah. It's like someone drunkenly described the last 2 books to Esta and like got a bunch of shit kind of out of order and not quite right, but like it's like a bad drunk history episode someone did for her of like a drunk book report.
So isn't that the story of Wicked the musical? Like a friend had read the book by Maguire and was telling it to Schwartz.
And
he was
true.
like, "Oh, this is awesome." And he went home and started writing music without having read that's why they really don't have that much to do with each other. Like it's the character names are the same and there's a few MacGuffins that are there together, but like mostly the characters are way different.
That is hilarious.
I think you're right. Like, again, I thought somebody had read this book. It turns out somebody did, but nobody in the executive producers suite.
No. Somebody was like drunk one night and telling Esta Spalding about their favorite book series. And then
Ashley, I'm not sure at this point that Mark Johnson has read the Mayfair books, honestly. Like,
I just wonder if he ever dips his head into these production meetings is what I wonder. I don't know if he's real hands off with Mayfair.
He just decided earlier, he's like, we're contractually obligated to follow this through, but like I'm gonna put my efforts over here.
Witches aren't my thing. I'm not really into witches. I'm more into vampires.
I see the people on this show don't strike me as very into witches. It turns out like they're racing to do a different thing, which is maybe going to be interesting.
It also makes you wonder how long, like how many seasons are they shooting for with this? Because they are snarfling up that what little of the source material they are using is moving right the fuck along into the third book.
Yeah, I mean, like, I wouldn't be surprised if they introduce us to the Blackwood family by the end of this season, and we're into the spinoff books.
So confused.
Okay, we start this thing, since we discussed SNL earlier. She's on a boat! She's on a boat! Rowan's on a boat. Rowan and Moira and Cortland and Lark.
Boat. We all
they're all on a boat. And they're headed on a European vacation. So I guess you and I have to lampoon it now.
Big Ben, Parliament.
Okay, so we get a text message while we're on the boat, by the way, which I guess they were pretty close to land at that point. Maybe the towers would be back. But when you're in the middle of the ocean or even a big channel.
Yeah, that feels just like a ferry kind of boat, though.
Good point. Yeah, they were going from...
That's a commute. They're commuting. It's commuting.
The house is falling apart now, genuinely. All of the windows have smashed out.
Reports from home.
Yeah, it is interesting to me, like, how they're gonna, like, what is happening to... Was the house propped up by the magic of Lasher? That doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. I mean, what else makes sense?
But what does? Yeah, exactly. I don't know. It's giving Fall of the House of Usher vibes to me.
Right. But I mean, what that means, though, is... genuine reminder, we've got a ticking countdown for our crew. So whatever you're doing in Scotland, you gotta
hurry. Yeah, because otherwise these two are gonna be stuck in this house. Because don't forget, those two are still stuck inside the house. Like, don't forget.
I wonder.
I almost forget sometimes.
Since every now and again they'll give us like a glimmer of JoJo, I hope she's getting paid for every one of these episodes.
I do too. God, I hope so. We're bringing you in for season 2, and we're so excited. You're such a talent. And actually, 4 episodes in, you're going to get sucked into the house, and then you're just going to be stuck there for the rest
Never
of the
to
season.
Be seen or heard from again. So Rowan is still giving Cortland the cold shoulder, and he's doing his best to look useful.
Yes, he's walking around with the metaphorical clipboard and pencil and pen. Like, so I'm looking very busy, and I'm very, very involved in everything.
I'm going to be remembering things as soon as we see them, and that's going to be very helpful, Rowan.
So stupid.
So Ian's sons? Question mark? It's at least one of them is his son. I'm assuming both of these young men are Ian's kids.
Look, the Mayfairs dip where they dip. Who knows who belongs to who?
That's a good point. They're talking to Lasher. Lasher is very freaked out because Albrecht. Where's Albrecht? He's the only one I know.
It's the only dude I know. Yeah.
So we get the story. We get the story of Saint Ashlar, he who comes again, last of the Taltos. Except he's not the last of the Taltos. There's another one.
No.
And they're going to take him to her. All right.
A Lady Taltos.
So you and I nodded along, both of us, like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. Oh, they're calling him Ashlar, which is that's like Lasher's original name, isn't it? No, we were wrong. Ashlar is a whole nother character, which we are not going to talk about right now.
Right.
But at the end of this episode, if you want to, we'll talk about a little bit of book stuff at the end of it. Yeah. But it's interesting, again, as many times so far in this show, they seem to be melding together 2 or 3 different things and going, we'll just, again, it's like, it's the drunken overheard half of the story somewhere.
Yes.
Okay. Ashley, of all the things to be consistent about, why would you be consistent about the fact that Rowan needs to stick her hand out like she's a faith healer to use her power of divination and discovering that? They're driving around in her car and she's sticking her hand out the window, just feeling for him. It's so stupid. It's so stupid.
It is.
Like, of all you said it, how did you put it 2 weeks ago? We've got to simple it for the simpletons.
Yeah,
we've got to simple it for the simples.
For the simples, yep. She's doing magic. You can tell by her hands.
But I mean, like just give us the wavy lines or something. You do the little where you go into her eye and it's blue scanny thing.
Make it cool.
Something.
No.
Come on. No, she's just got her hand
They blew the
out.
budget on the trip to Scotland.
I don't believe they went to Scotland.
We're
I don't know
stuck
where
with
they...
her hand now.
Listen, there were some very pretty wide shots. I will give them that. And the town set was pretty cool once we got into it.
I think they did go to Scotland to film, didn't they say
Did they really? Maybe they did.
I'm pretty sure they said they did. They may be lying. They may have created Scotland in their minds.
This seems more like some sort of money rip-off scheme. They're like, yeah, we went to Scotland. That's what we did. Everybody, we went to Scotland, okay?
Remember
Do you like your new watches?
We filmed in Scotland. It was great.
Okay, so they have a flat tire. They're stuck without signal out in the middle of nowhere. Well, I will say
they had signal on the boat.
Right. They had signal in the middle of the water, but not on the country road. But it is awfully convenient. I will give them that. I mean, it's convenient because the writers made it so. But they immediately go to, this is Julian's doing.
Yes.
How the fuck did Julian and his Victrola back in New Orleans pop your tire? Like,
he is in a record player, my friend.
Maybe it's Ian's doing, but like anyway, they make that's one of very many stupid decisions and observations they make over the course of this.
It's overcommitting to the magic that we know of.
Yes. Okay, so while Rowan's inspecting the tire and she's complaining about how Julian did it, Lark's like, aren't you overplaying this a little bit? Are you scared of him? She says, I'm not scared of him. I'm scared of what it's going to take to beat him, which I thought was an interesting line. She just discovered that Julian is even the opposition, sort of, in our previous episode in the Victrola.
Right.
And
we're
now
not even
she's immediately
sure about what's going on.
No, but now she's like, I've got to
committed.
go to immediately to human rights violations to beat this greater evil.
Yes, I'm going to have to figure out how to waterboard a ghost.
Okay, so they're going to have to hoof it to town. They decide to just walk in. It's not that far, apparently. They get to Kilbride, and it's a festival. It's Michaelmas.
Yeah. It's a little party.
It's a little weird for a Catholic festival.
Weird little party. Yeah.
It's a lot of goat heads, it feels like.
Pretty pagan. Feels like an early Catholic festival, if you know what I mean. They let you keep it for some reason, but to keep you to keep you happy, you get to keep your little crazy festival. It also feels like we are now in it's like the 1600s. Like we have gone from like modern time into a weird time rift or something. It's quite strange.
Yeah. This is very much like a creepy version. This is a Midsommar's version of Brigadoon. Yeah. All right.
God.
This is Brigadoon is directed by Robert
Ari
Eggers.
Aster. Yeah.
Yeah, Ari Aster, even better. There you go. Have you been to the festival?
No.
So
don't do the tea.
So Rowan catches an Albrecht lookalike in the crowd.
Right.
And she was convinced that it was Albrecht. First of all, we know Albrecht is dead and kicked down the stairs. But also, there was something off about the look. The beard was too pointy or the figure was too small or something. I was like, nah, it's not Albrecht.
And it was like, had this like shimmery fake quality to him, sort of.
It was a little something.
Yeah.
Put a pin in that.
That might be some glamour.
Meanwhile, Moira finds herself a man in a red cloak that is talking about Taltos. She's like scanning the crowd and she hears someone say the word Taltos. So she goes to follow him and promptly disappears the fuck out of this episode.
Right. We will not see her again.
Okay. You sideline JoJo, who we all said we liked.
Yes.
Lark is barely in this episode, and we liked Lark quite a lot. And now you literally just disappear, Moira. I do not care for this.
No, I do not care for this. Do we see, I'm trying to remember because it's been a couple days since I watched, and then in the midst of it, I have had a horrifying stomach virus, so my brain isn't quite functioning.
You guys know that game where Michael Jordan scored 30 when he had the flu? This is Ashley's version of that right here. She's coming off the bench. Injured.
I'm getting my hydration in, trying to stay alive. So did Moira walk into that bar that is the bar that was in Julian's? We see her walk into that bar, and then we don't see her again.
Yes, I've got one more line in a minute. I just realized that was like literally the next line. Suddenly, we're in Julian's pub. It's the real one. Like all of the... And okay, so Moira had been in the Victrola, sort of, right? She went to pick it up that time, and she was channeling him. Mm-hmm. And I get the sense that she recognizes this pub when she walks in. I got that sense anyway.
I felt. Well, I recognized it, so maybe.
Yes. Maybe it's just us.
Maybe it's just us, but I don't know.
I feel like that was that moment, though, on her face where she was like,
uh-oh, this is where we were.
But, okay, so, like, I mean, it's not very long at all before the rest of this crew just decides to leave Moira behind because they can't get in touch with her.
Right? What the fuck, you guys?
So Kelly was, first of all, she was very upset. She was like, here's the deal. Never leave your young female companion behind in a strange European city.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I want to be cutthroat though for a minute. Let's assume for a moment that Rowan really does not give a fuck about Moira. Moira is one of the only genuinely powerful tools that Rowan has at her disposal at this point.
Right. You
don't leave your mind reader behind.
You don't ever. You got a mind reader? You don't ever leave that fucker behind.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Jesus. What a boneheaded play. And the fact that, like, none of the... Okay, Kelly was like, at least leave Lark behind to wait for her, right?
Leave someone there to wait for her. Like, I don't agree with splitting up the group either. That's always a terrible idea. I watch enough fucking horror movies to know don't do that. But my God,
note said, the real lesson is never break up the Scooby crew.
Exactly. Jesus, you do not... But Kelly's totally right. You do not leave your young, early 20s friend alone anywhere. You fucking find them before you wander off to the next location.
Yes.
That's how girls get murdered.
100%. 100%. All right. Finally, we cut back to Cyprian. We've been doing... I realized I was like, man, we're deep into this episode and all we're doing is following the group in Scotland. At first I was like, wait a minute, where is he now? Oh, yes. He was supposed to go to Amsterdam. We're in the mother house, Ashley. We're in the Talamasca motherfucking mother house.
We are there. I should have been more excited than I was. Mostly I was like trying to remember where the fuck he was.
Exactly what we're doing. Yes. So I will say, I think it would have been nice to have like a title card there, like literally like just something like Amsterdam, Talamasca mother house.
A little reminder.
We were only really in the lobby here, but it looks right. Like, I'm like, okay, that looks about what I expected. I'm down for this now.
Yeah.
I'm super surprised that they did it. I really thought they were going to stall this in one way or another, but we're here.
No, we are moving towards whatever's next at breakneck speed at this point. Like, I don't... Right? I'm trying to figure out how much they're trying to cram in and then how many more seasons they're trying to do of this. I'm at this point... What was this? Episode 7? 6? 7?
6. This is 6. So we've got 2 more.
We've got 2 more. That's like not enough.
Not enough to finish what they're doing, clearly. But again, it's like, why are we running so far ahead?
Yeah.
When
it's weird.
If you know you have another season, which it feels like they have to, this is not going to be able to wrap up all of this into episodes. If you know you have another season, why do you need to bring in so much of that third book already? Like, you have not done the first book. Yeah, we touched on the second book,
and we still are not sure what's going on, really. So, like, I don't know. It's very odd.
Jason Revington has a really good comment on our Facebook group. He says, I actually enjoyed this episode. It introduced the character of Imeleth, who we're going to get to in a few minutes. Yeah. Honestly, I'm glad we don't get to her in the same way that we do in the books. We'll talk about that at the end of this episode. But he also says, I like how they name dropped Daniel Malloy's book at Amsterdam Talamasca.
Yes,
so
I did too.
That's what I wanted to bring up here. So, okay, we've gotten Felix in whatever 2-3 episodes back now, the Lestat's little companion in modern day New Orleans. So we knew like some rough timelines. This, I feel like, cements it. Yeah. First of all, this whole season has taken place after the finale of season 2 of Interview with a Vampire.
Yeah.
And pretty closely, I would say. It feels like a matter of months at most, right? 2, 3, 4 months since Daniel Malloy's book's been
Oh,
out.
yeah. Yeah, because it's still a big deal.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
like it's...
Very excited about that.
It mentions so offhand as though, like, well, this book's out, because like you're part of the Talamasca, so you're like, Daniel Malloy's books really caused us a bunch of trouble, and so it's like you've had time to read it, and everyone knows.
Okay, it does make me wonder though, why have we never heard the word vampire before in this show? Like, just in offhand, somewhere between Albrecht and Sip, maybe, like when they're talking about some of the things. I mean, I don't believe they've ever said the word vampire before.
Not that I can recall. I don't think so. We definitely would have keyed in on it because it would have been a tease for our other show.
I would think so.
We would have keyed in on it.
Yeah. But it is interesting though that's all out in the open now. And again, like, how is the world react? I mean, I guess the world didn't believe it mostly, right? Like the vampires are up in arms and the Talamasca is going crazy about it. But most people don't actually believe that any of that is real, I'm sure.
No. Yeah. It's a really good book.
Boy, I really cannot wait to see some of that unpacked on screen, though. Like, what a tease for us for season 3 of that show. But also, I'm guessing a good deal of the Talamasca's first season will probably involve some of the fallout of that discussion, too, right? Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, very, very exciting little tease there.
Well, and it's going to be interesting to figure out like the timeline of the, like how our season 3 of Interview and season 1 of the Talamasca, are those going to be kind of like timeline wise running in tandem, or is one going to be a little bit ahead of the other one, or is, so I'm very excited to see kind of how that all gets laid out too.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, this is a problem like the MCU has run into, right? Like you've got realistic production deadlines for all these different shows. Right. And so how do you time the stories and how much can you coordinate, et cetera, et cetera. But like, I do think the very nature of the stories that they are leading to in Interview with a Vampire will require impacts for the Talamasca agency.
Huge.
And so if you're going to make a show about that, well, it's mostly going to be about the things that happen in. Yeah. So my guess is we'll get the Talamasca season 1 will be the fallout from Daniel's book, will be probably most of the storyline. And then Talamasca season 2 will probably be the fallout from Interview with a Vampire season 3.
Right.
Like, and my guess is that those might actually be like literally one ongoing story. So if you think about how big the third book in that series is, if they're doing the second book in season 3, and they're headed into the stories of Queen of the Damned, well, then that might be a multi-show storyline. In which case, if they're really going to connect all of them, Ashley, and I'm a little worried about that aspect, but if you're going to do that, I can understand why they're clearing some of the decks and rushing ahead in this series to get to the place where you can bring our witches into that as well. I wish they wouldn't.
I don't think that
but
they're
I think they're going to.
See, and I don't know that. I feel like they're kind of purpose, like maybe that's why they haven't had any vampire talk on here. Maybe they're trying to keep them at least somewhat separate. I don't know. We'll see.
That's fair. That's fair.
We'll see.
Jason also though points out, and thank you, Jason, because I wouldn't have honestly known this. He says it was cool to see, or nice to see, Franca Potente. Franca. Boy, I'm going to butcher this name all kinds of ways. Franca Pontente. Pontente of Run Lola Run fame and Born Identity as the lead Talamasca member. Okay, so I looked her up. She's a German actress. This is the one that comes in and deals with Cyprian. She's 50 years old right now, and she has been in a ton of stuff. She was in Born Identity and the Born Supremacy. She was in Creep. She was in Blow. She was in Run Lola Run as Lola. The Princess and the Warrior. Like, she's been in a ton of stuff.
She's been
what
busy.
is her character name in the Born Identity? Hang on, I'm going to look this up. She's Marie Kreutz in the Born series. Anyway, really cool actress. And I think they did some interesting things with her introduction here. Okay, I want to ask you how you read this. She comes up and doesn't really speak. He puts his hand out and she doesn't shake it. Mm-hmm. And then he tries to like start something else, and she just doesn't acknowledge him at all. And finally, he relaxes physically, and she says, "Good." And then she starts speaking to him. Did she make him mentally disarm? Did she make him put down his blocks
she
so that
might
she could
have.
read his mind?
She might have. I think maybe the energy that he was giving off was a little intense for her, and she needed to like put a little, like, you need to calm down a little bit before we can get into this. And maybe maybe it's a control thing. I don't know. I didn't read as much into it as it being like a psychic control thing, though it could have been. I think it was more, but control nonetheless. I definitely read it as a control thing. Like, we're not having this conversation until I'm in control of it.
We're definitely not having it on whatever footing that you're trying to have it on. No.
Yeah,
no.
we're not
over
doing that.
here. Actually,
calm down. You're being very reactive right now. You're being very emotional. Why are you so emotional?
Right. It's a very cool moment regardless. She says that she wants to work with Sip, and he's like, "Are we going to my disciplinary hearing?" She goes, "It's already happened.
It's done. You're fine.
You're what did she say? Not exonerated, but like they didn't find that he was guilty of anything.
Yeah.
He's not going to be in any trouble. He's been cleared." Okay. I love this moment for Cyprian though, because he pushes back. He's like, "Actually, no, I'm not going with you. I don't want to work for you. Matter of fact, I'm about to leave the organization."
This shit's crazy.
To think that I got saved by the Talamasca. This is such a great line. I used to think I got saved by the Talamasca. I got acquired by the Talamasca. I was never the carpenter. I was always the hammer.
Yep. Yeah.
That's real good, man. Why can't we get that much depth with him in an ongoing fashion? Like, come on now.
Right. But also, I mean, that is a huge realization that you've been used and you thought you were a part of something and you weren't. You were just a tool for them. It sucks.
I mean, and she doesn't do anything here right away to dispel his concerns that, like, okay, so your argument is y'all didn't want all of that to happen. Albrecht was the bad actor, and he kept us over here locked off in a box of secrecy. But he didn't even inform me of everything that he was doing. And you're like, oh, it's okay because he didn't inform us of what he was doing either. It's like layers upon layers of secrecy, and I'm tired of all of that bullshit.
Yeah.
So he says, give me the power. Make me the head of the New Orleans division. Do that, and then I'll help you. And she's like, I can't do that.
Yeah, there's other people involved.
She's like, no, I can't do that alone. Come with me. And she doesn't say it, but it's so fun. I'm watching Severance right now, and my immediate thought was, I'll have to consult the board. I don't know if you're watching that show either. That's a really good show. It's so good.
Heard amazing things.
It's real good.
Apple is like the only streaming service I do not have.
Okay, here's what's so weird, man. Every time I watch that show, it is insane that Apple made that show. Like, first of all, there's not very much that suggests that this is like about Apple, right? But the very idea of a corporation that prizes secrecy so much that they would separate their human employees into two different people effectively, where they can't remember what goes on outside or what goes on inside.
Fucking crazy.
You're like, you realize this has got to be a criticism of you, right? Like, there are layers of things, obviously. Yeah. Anyway, and the fact, like, Tim Cook made a video where he did the thing from season 2, just like that character does. I'm like, I don't think you guys are getting the joke, man. Like, Ben Stiller is shooting above your heads, I guess. I don't know.
You are the joke.
Yeah. But this here is interesting because we do know in the Talamasca series that we're going to get them to meet some elders. Elders have already been cast for the show, which is like very interesting because the elders don't come in until way late in the books. Anyway, I love what they're doing here, honestly. And it's not like the books exactly. We know this Talamasca is going to be more active, as an organization than our book Talamasca is. But it's compelling TV again. Like, I'm like, okay, we can make something real good here. Actually, all of this has made me more excited about the Talamasca series. It's made me more excited about the Talamasca series than it has about the Mayfair series. But that's okay too. That's okay too. Not everything is for me. some of the Marvel movies are build-ups to the next Avengers movie.
Exactly.
Ashley, we just have to understand.
You just have to hold on and ride on and see what's next.
There's filler episodes. It's okay.
That's right.
There's no room at the inn for Lark and crew. He had made reservations, but he made them through bookhopper.com or something.
I love this joke too, because they're like, "Oh, you're sorry, you made it through a third party. There's like nothing we can do for you,"
us.
Which is like exactly what you get if you have a problem with a reservation you made through, Travelocity.
Dude, we traveled a lot for Utah's gymnastics when she was doing it. She's actually sitting out at least this year. But when we were traveling for gymnastics all the time, we had this happen to us in New Orleans. Kelly had booked through some third-party website to get a good deal, and they were like, "Nah, we can't." Not only that, they wouldn't take our bank debit card for a purchase of the. Anyway, I got ugly and got threatened to be thrown out by the police from their hotel,
excellent.
and it was a whole thing.
It was a whole thing.
I did eventually get a refund from that third-party booking company, so it worked out okay. We booked somewhere else, but I feel that woman at the desk.
I did too. I was like, all my travel groups that I'm a part of, people are always bitching about that. I'm like, oh no, third-party booking systems are so screwed.
Don't do it. Don't do it. So Lasher had been promised that he was going to get to meet this other person like him.
Yes.
She's been alone for a very long time waiting for you. Imolith is her name, a beautiful woman in a veil riding a giant cow who she promptly milks and sends it over by a redheaded maiden to Lasher to gulp up like a madman.
Please enjoy this milk.
They got Lasher on a leash. Like they've literally got him chained up because he is frothing at the mouth to get at this woman.
Yes. I bet her hair smells especially nice.
Okay. We joked that this show is like somebody drunkenly overheard somebody who had read these books. This feels like a virgin's reenactment of a porn video that they heard somebody describe. Like this feels like it's supposed to be sexy and naughty and
yeah, but it's just weird and
it's like, oh, but
creepy.
What if she poured some milk? First of all,
we can't.
Isn't that milk hot?
Can we also stop with trying to make milk sexy? Because milk is gross, and all it's going to lead to is bloating and gas. You are not fucking if you drink a bucket of milk, buddy.
Straight out the cow. Straight out the cow.
Look.
Oh man.
Pasteurization exists for a reason.
I don't know. I heard they might outlaw that soon, Ashley.
I know.
So,
we might all be drinking raw milk.
Because I don't drink milk.
I don't either. Because it's fucking gross.
Because it's fucking gross. It's gross.
Ugh.
So again, stay tuned if you're not averse to a few book spoilers, because they're not doing the books, folks. At the end of this episode, we will talk about Imolith a little bit. Interesting imagery here, and clearly they're trying to show us something alluring. They're hinting. First of all, she's very old, but she doesn't look it.
No, very beautiful.
However, she's veiled. It's like, what's she hiding under there? Is it a butterface situation? I don't know. Actually,
we don't know.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I like here, finally, we skip back to Rowan, and finally Rowan realizes that she's in a weird pagan festival. She's like, oh, wait a minute. I think they're fucking around here. Where are all the ghost heads? Why is this? What's going on?
For someone that's so smart, you're sure very observant of your actual environment. Again, and this is how girls get murdered. Please pay attention to what's going on around you, especially when you are in another country. I don't care if they speak English. You might.
So Hamish shows up to give him a ride to that other hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like, I don't know, when the rider, first of all, when you got a ride up front too, and he's blasting death metal and won't speak to you, like are
you're
the doors locked already?
You're not getting 5 stars as this Uber. This Uber is not getting 5 stars.
It's the Uber driver from hell. Hey, have you heard about Bitcoin?
Oh God.
I got a cousin who was way into it early. He did really good, man. He set me up a server. You can get in on it if you want.
It's called mining, but you don't have to mine.
It's so weird, man. It's circular, really, like, because great grandpa was a miner. So, like,
so now it's a family business, basically.
Yeah. It's kind of my birthright when you think about it. I rode all the way from the Denver airport to downtown Denver, which is like a 45-minute ride, with an Uber guy who wanted to tell me about his burgeoning Bitcoin business. And I'm like, first of all, sir, I believe that entire thing is a scam. But even if I didn't, you, sir, are a full-time Uber driver, clearly. You are not going to invest in your Bitcoin business.
No, sir. No, sir.
So Ian splits Cortland off for a drink as soon as they get... Oh, wait, I skipped it. Where is Hamish taking them? He's not taking them to the hotel. He's taking them to Ian.
Yeah, because there's no hotel.
No. Although the comings and goings out of here, it's as much you might think so, wouldn't you? I liked Ian, honestly. I like Ian a lot. Hamish is a knucklehead, though. He feels like every third thug down the chain in a Guy Ritchie movie. You know?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
How long are them sausages, Turkish?
Oh, God.
So they get there to Ian's house, and Ian's like, oh, we've got dinner prepared, and we'll take you to our rooms. And there's a lovely young maiden to take them upstairs. And Mama comes down to kiss Ian on the forehead. And, okay, great family. Not creepy at all that they stole you out of town and drove you out to the middle of nowhere.
This doesn't have any sort of, like, I don't know, like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre feel to it me at all. This is completely normal family.
Precisely what I was like. So how long until somebody gets carved up here?
I mean, I spent the rest of it waiting for it.
So Ian splits Cortland off first for a drink. Turns out they both hated each other and both hated Daddy because they could never live up to, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, maybe. Is any of this true? Like, why would we believe Ian? That's my problem, is we get a lot of exposition there, but...
Don't we remember the killing of the little girl and the murdering of all the lambs?
Yeah, he chopped up everybody, remember? Like, he was the effective murderer for the old gods.
Like, he's friendly right now, but, like, I still remember the lambs.
Yeah. You remember the lambs, Clarice?
Of course I do!
Rowan's wandering around the house and meets Bonnie, who is dancing the part of the bride of St. Ashler. Bonnie. And now he's come again, and tomorrow I'll get to meet him. St. Ashler, he who comes again, as we were told earlier. All right, so there's going to be some sort of ceremony, and Bonnie here is a dancer. She's going to dance in the ballet of St. Ashler, playing the role of the bride. Ashley, what's the name of this town that we're in again?
I don't remember now.
Kilbride.
Kilbride. That's right. Kilbride. Yeah. That's some ominous foreshadowing right there.
Every time they talked about a wedding, I was like, I feel like you say the one thing, but I think you mean the other thing.
Yeah, I think, maybe a sacrifice. Remember the little dead girl with the lambs?
Pepperidge Farms remembers. Okay, so Ian is all excited about the wedding, and he's explaining it to everybody and how they're going to get Ashler and Emilith together, and together what a force they'll be. So he starts explaining. He says humans had driven them to extinction except for one, our Emilith. Okay, about this time, Rowan decides that she's done with the shit. Can we just move past? I need a vial of blood, and then I'll leave you guys alone.
That's just all you guys could do your weird shit. I just need a vial of blood, and I'll be on my way.
Ian's like, I don't think you will, actually. And Rowan's like, oh yeah, let me blow your mind up. And she tries to, and she does choke Ian. It's not going well, except she realizes that Bonnie is dying faster than Ian is. Bonnie is choking to death, almost turning blue. Ian's family are all bonded together. Rowan can't harm any of them without hurting Bonnie, since she's the youngest and weakest of the family.
So
before anybody else dies, she would. Yeah, this again is not something really from the books. And first of
No.
all, if they had the power, you know damn well Julian would have done it with the Mayfairs, like
Oh.
the normal line of Mayfairs.
Ooh, yeah, for sure. Especially this version of Julian, I would think.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I really don't get what they're doing here, other than it's a block so Rowan can't just pop heads.
Also, does Rowan even give that much of a shit? You know, like
she says, well, you wouldn't kill it. Ian says, you wouldn't kill a child, would you? And she goes, I'll do anything to protect my family. Which Lark is kind of like, hey, we're murdering kids now.
Kids.
She's like, well, I didn't do it. I was threatening it.
I just can. Just because I can doesn't mean I would.
But Ian's got a good line there. He's after she realizes she's going to hurt Bonnie and she stops. He's like, you can't do anything about it, so maybe cool your fucking jets. I was like, yeah, I like that. Yeah. Good job.
Yeah,
maybe don't blow up my head.
Yeah, unless you're willing to kill other people. Like, you gotta settle in for a few minutes.
We've talked about how much we like Lark. Rowan's so ridiculous. She's like, they're in the bedroom, and she's like, yeah, I'm going to go do this thing, and you go ask some questions. Don't even worry about it. He goes, yeah. Spy stuff. Just like immediately like, okay, I'll go along with this. Rowan gets a suggestion from Cortland that they've already met the Winkleak and the family. And so she goes, yeah, I'll go talk to Hamish. And it absolutely works. They were right. Hamish is the least favorite son, and he's mad about it.
If anyone has a beef, it's the heir, the spare of the heir.
Boy. Yeah, the spare of the heir. Good call. So interesting thing though, he tells Rowan that he's not going to be there much longer, but he's not talking about escape. Ashley, doesn't sound like to me.
No.
I think I think they're talking about the other thing. I think they're talking about a sacrifice.
We're gonna splash some blood around.
Yeah, and I think Hamish knows he's on the chopping block. That's one of the reasons they haven't been very nice to him along the way. Probably,
they're like, it'll be easier for us to kill you if we're mean to you.
Cortland says it turns out that both of Julian's sons love to talk. He makes a crack about how Ian's favorite thing to do is to talk, and I'm like, have you read your own sides of the show, Harry Hamlin?
Yes.
Okay, so this was an interesting moment. Again, it was sort of like the clumsy, sexy milk story earlier. Lark is hanging out trying to talk to the family members and get some information.
Basic instinct moment.
And the cute girl, the lovely young maiden who led them upstairs to their rooms earlier, she sits down and like spreads her Amish skirt out.
It's got a real basic instinct feel to it.
Yeah, man. She's like humping the chair a little bit. He's like, he wanders off like he's in a Gene Wilder movie. It's very funny. He's like, I don't know. Can't do that.
Befuddled is what I am.
But as he stumbles away, though, he finds a mask on the floor that looks suspiciously like Albrecht's face, except it's not a mask, Ashley.
It's not a mask. It's not a mask.
It is, in fact, Albrecht's face.
And his hair. It's his hair.
Cut that dude's face off. And we're wearing it around.
And wore it around. Whoo! Wore it the fuck around. That guy
Rowan saw earlier in town was wearing an Albrecht face.
That's intense. Also, brilliantly disgusting. I love it.
Lark, again, the voice of reason, tells Rowan, this is not a puzzle. It's a trap.
Yeah.
Like, they have lured us here. I just picked
up a fucking face off the ground. I don't think we're supposed to be here.
We got to get the fuck out. Okay. Rowan and Lark, though, end up talking to each other, or Rowan talks him into, no, we've got to get it a little bit longer, et cetera, et cetera. We're just going to sleep on it. Except they absolutely do not sleep on it.
They do not sleep on it.
Immediately have sex.
Yeah.
Okay. This felt like magically induced sex. Like this house is full of hormones, or again, there's sex magic coming or something.
Right.
Like they jumped each other's bones. They went from 0 to 60 fast.
Yeah. And it's like it's like that's part of the trap, you know. Like that's
Yes.
part of it. Like, oh, we let the two of you in a room alone for like 15 seconds, and now you're fucking.
All your clothes are off suddenly. Oh, how did that get there?
It's hard to do. It's hard to spy on people when you're naked and fucking in another room.
That's true. That's true. Good to spy on people when they're naked and fucking in another room, I suppose, though.
Convenient,
maybe so.
Yeah, it gives you well, I mean, I guess it depends on what you like to do in your spare time.
So Rowan puts Lark to sleep with that booty, apparently. Like he's snoring right away.
That after sex nap.
Meanwhile, she is up and wandering the house. Apparently he did not do his duty.
No.
She's looking for clues though, and heads into the tunnels. Ashley, do you head into the tunnels alone?
No, Joel. I would not recommend heading into the tunnels alone, actually. Why the fuck are there tunnels? Let's ask that question. Like, why are there creepy tunnels to be had? Why do we have to go into the creepy tunnels? Why are creepy tunnels involved? If there's creepy tunnels, there's probably something fucked up about to happen.
Let me make one argument for tunnels. There are a lot of places in the northern. There's a lot of places in the northern part of this country and in the middle of this country where there are tunnels for the Underground Railroad, right? Like there are whole like neighborhoods where the houses are connected by tunnels or whatever. You hear those stories about. Yeah,
that's a good reason to have a tunnel.
But even those tunnels, you don't go in alone. You take some light and some weaponry and some backup.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not getting into a tunnel alone. Just so if in fact, if I'm ever found dead in a tunnel, someone dragged me there. I did not want to go into that tunnel alone.
The most time I've ever spent in a tunnel, ever, is the time that I spent in the tunnel under the stage at Blue Jacket Outdoor Drama, Ashley. Yeah. So from one side of stage to the other, there was probably, a 75-foot long, maybe 100-foot tunnel. And it went from like one under you go in the building in the back that looks like a big mountain, and you go on down the thing and you go under the tunnel. And on the other side, you come up by the costume shop. Yeah. But like there were bats in that tunnel, and I didn't like going in that tunnel alone either, Ashley.
I just would run through that tunnel. I'd be like, that tunnel is like for running through to get to the other side of the stage. And that's the only reason why you would ever use that tunnel. It's because someone made you. Or there was very bad weather.
I had a big club. Or a fake gun, and I'd beat the shit out of somebody if they came upon me in the tunnel. Anyway, I don't go into the tunnel alone.
Or without weapons.
Yes.
Either or, have something.
And we are proven right immediately when Hamish locks her ass in. And I say good. Good, Rowan. This is a lesson to learn.
It's a lesson to be learned, ma'am. There's tunnels under Hot Springs, where I grew up. I actually have been into some of the tunnels underneath Hot Springs. Apparently, like, I don't know what the rumors, the stories are that it was used by like the mafia guys that used to hang out down there. Because like it was Hot Springs is the very first like resort in the country, one of the very first resorts in the country, and it was very, very big with like Al Capone and his cronies. And so the rumor is that there's like that's part of the reason why there's tunnels under the city, and you can kind of. That's
fascinating. Yeah. I didn't know that aspect. I knew there was a mafia influence there in the like the 20s and the 30s, especially. But then I also knew that because there's a mob museum there, isn't it? Or like an organized crime museum or something?
Yeah, mob museum there. And I remember like going into those tunnels. It had to have been with like a Girl Scout troop or something, like something like that, something random like that. But yeah, it was very cool. But again, we had friends. We weren't alone. We had a whole troop of us.
Don't go alone, and you don't go without weaponry into the tunnels. Them's the rules, folks. We do not make them. We just obey them.
Yeah, we obey the rules. Yeah, 100% of the time.
I don't know where the show's going at. I mean, I do know where the show's going. It's going to a wedding ceremony, and my guess is there's going to be some bloodshed in addition to some baby making, probably based on how this show has gone so far. Interesting. I can't believe we've only got 2 episodes left.
That's what I say. I can't believe it. I'm like, what? Oh, we're done. We're almost done. But you've opened up so much to do, but then you moved so far ahead. How much are we what are we doing? What's happening?
Yes, indeed. What are we doing? I am very hopeful that we'll get a 3rd season of this to continue allowing us to flesh out some of these things and finalize some ideas and wrap this series up in a exciting and positive way that we can be happy for. couple of things I wanted to touch on, and this is going to be some book spoilers, or spoilers from the books. If you don't want to be a part of that, thank you so much for watching this episode. Go watch episode 7 and join us next week for our discussion of the next one. And we'll get into spoiler territory now. Okay, 2 things I want to talk about. Imolith and Ashlar.
Yeah.
First of all, let's talk about Ashlar. So the idea of Saint Ashlar or Ashlor as a person, that is from the books, but it is not Lasher. Ashlar is a character from the 3rd novel. He doesn't show up until Taltos.
Right.
He doesn't even know how old he is. He is a Taltos. He's about 7 feet tall, by the way. And he is probably thousands and thousands of years old. The first time he encountered humans, they were primitive, and there was no way of tracking age, and he couldn't tell. So he literally is like the oldest man on earth, doesn't know where he came from, and is a separate entity completely from the character of Lasher. Lasher is, or was originally, a member of the Taltos who died and became a spirit who hovered and gained power or whatever, and eventually clung on to the Mayfair family so that he could be re-embodied, hundreds and thousands of years later, whatever. Interesting though that they're combining the 2 characters. And again, like, if we're going into the Taltos of it all, why not have a few Taltos characters? There's only a handful in the books that we really get to know.
Well, and Ashlar is like important, like does some really
in the end
important
of
things in that book.
And I don't know how they're going to square all of the things that Ashlar is and does with who Lasher has been so far. But it's interesting that they seem to be combining those 2 at least. And again, maybe it's like, maybe we'll be surprised. Maybe this idea of Saint Ashlar is real, and they think Lasher is it, but the real Ashlar shows up. You know? Maybe.
Yeah, that could be the thing of it. That could be the thing of it. Yeah, it's.
Okay, Jason Revington had mentioned earlier, I'm sort of glad that we don't get Imolith the same way that we did in the books. Spoilers for the next book. So he mentions that there is an old female Taltos in the book Taltos. He can't remember the name, but he wonders if they're sort of mashing up the 2 characters there. The character of Imolith in the novels is the final one successful fertilization of Lasher and Rowan.
She's the daughter.
Lasher and Rowan have sex a bunch in the book. It's all rape, by the way. Lasher forces himself every time. And when when she tries to conceive, they all end up in fairly violent miscarriages. Like, Rowan is dying at several points, or about to die at several points, because Lasher continues to fertilize her unsuccessfully. Imolith is eventually born, and when she is born, she feeds her own milk to Rowan and heals her.
Yep.
And then Rowan tells Michael to kill Imolith, which he refuses to do. Michael Curry, the character that doesn't even exist in this TV show. He's sort of Cyprian and sort of a little bit Lark, but not really either one of them. And when Michael refuses it, Rowan takes a gun and shoots Imolith in the head and kills her.
Yeah.
Which then sends Rowan into a catatonic state for like the rest of that book and on into the next one, I think. Like, she's not normal for a long time.
Yeah.
So weird how they're picking and choosing. I guess this is one way to get around the rape of it all, is to just have it's an external character that will be able probably to mate with Lasher, and so we won't have to deal with all of that.
Yeah, but
that's a lot of the book. Like, it's a lot of the book though. It's a lot of the second book, especially, that they're just, nope, we're not doing that.
Yeah, but we almost did, but we did a little, but we. How long are we going to be in Scotland? Are we in Scotland for the rest of the season? Are we?
Okay. My guess is we're definitely in Scotland all of next episode.
Yeah.
But we have to go back to New Orleans because we have to save JoJo and Daphne, right?
We can't leave them in the house. Yeah.
That's the other thing. Like, the house is a big feature of your show, honestly. I can't imagine they'll go to season 3 with the house actually destroyed. My guess is in between seasons, we're going to get what we get in the first book, which is like the full remodel of the house.
Yeah.
Yes, there'll be a restoration of the house properly. That's my guess anyway. I don't know, man. I don't know. This thing could wrap up very, very weird and very unsatisfying.
Well,
Or it could
that's
be
always the case with this show. Like, let's not act like that hasn't always been the possibility, Joel.
fair. Very fair. Very fair.
I'm not
very
sure
fair.
if you remember the end of last season.
I do. I would like, she Medusa'd him, and then there was lightning bolts, and then there was a baby. And we were like, how long is he going to be a baby? It turned out not very long. But
Not very long.
that was very unclear at the birth scene last year. We were like, oh, he's going to be a baby for all of the season. And when are we going to get to the mama fucking? We didn't even, they just skipped it all together.
They skipped the mama fucking altogether. God damn it.
I don't know, y'all. Like, again, it's just so striking. It's not even bad necessarily. Like, this episode was pretty enjoyable.
Yeah, but I just felt I'm watching a show where I don't know what's going to happen next. You know,
Yes,
like I'm just watching a show I'm not familiar with the source material on, or it's a brand new show. That's really how I felt this episode. I was like, well, I just don't know what's going on at all, and I guess I'm okay with it at this point. But I mean, I don't know. I can have some guesses, but every time I have some guesses, the next episode, my guesses get completely thrashed out.
Yes, it is so strange. I mean, it's genuinely like, I'm glad we're putting them at the end now when we're talking about the book stuff like we're doing right now. But I genuinely don't feel like they're spoilers, because they're just word searching. What Emilith did in the books, I mean, maybe Emilith's end might have something to do with what we see here in the show, right? But like, I feel no guarantees of that even.
But I mean, Lasher has an end.
Yes.
That Ashlar is involved. Like it's just, I'm just like, what
are you doing?
I don't know. How are we going to get there? What's going to happen? So like that last episode, I was like, well, this just officially feels like a show I have no clue. Like it's just like it's a show that doesn't have source material, or I didn't read the source material.
It's like you and I just decided to start talking about the Vampire Diaries or something.
Yeah,
I don't.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's fine.
Which is fine. Which is absolutely fine. Just not what we expected.
And it's so shocking when, again, like I'm rewatching season 2 of Interview with the Vampire right now. And
giving yourself a little palate cleanser.
Well, so I'm doing it I'm making these videos, what things you missed in each episode for YouTube. But genuinely, like, the things that they're bringing in from book 2 and book 3 and book 4, and weaving them together in interesting ways. And even when they deviate from the source material, it's like only so that it's also interesting for you and me who know the source material so intimately.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just so different. It is so different the way these shows are constructed.
It's pretty wild.
I am really interested in how this all eventually comes to a head and potentially comes together. So there you go. Let's ride this roller coaster, I guess.
Yep. We have no idea where it's going or what the end looks like, but here we go. We've been on the ride, so we stay on it.
Indeed. All right, you all have spoken, by the way, and we will be going into Merrick book club episodes after the end of this season. I feel like we do have to make time.
I don't know why that surprised me so bad. I'm so excited.
Really
I'm very excited.
I feel like we do need to make time, and after we get through Merrick, we're going to try to squeeze in a Lasher read as well, just because...
We
just for our own, we need to be reminded ourselves. And I do think it would be a disservice to not go back into those books in more depth. We've done one episode on the Witching Hour, but like genuinely that probably needs breaking down in multiple episodes too. Yeah. Because those books are so good. And if the show's not going to do it, we ought to bring it to y'all and we ought to help remind you of it. So we're going to try to do all those in the future. But in between those book club episodes, we're going to do some movie night episodes, obviously, as well. We've got some really good movie nights. We'll get a schedule up. If you want to be aware ahead of time of everything that we're going to be doing and when those episodes will come out, make sure that you join our Patreon. Even if you don't join as a paid member, you can join as a free member, and I'll put those scheduling posts up on the Patreon so everybody will see it, whether Facebook or Instagram or whatever else wants to serve our info to you or not. So go to articulatecoven.com/join, join as a free member. Speaking of free membership, I think we're over 70 total members with free, and we're at like 43, 44 as of this morning, paid members too. So
thanks,
guys. We're on the march. Thank you so much. We're on the march for 50 paid members by the time we get to our 8th anniversary in May. And thank you to everybody who has joined recently over there. All right. I guess that's about it. We will be back next week with episode 7 of the Mayfair Witches.
Wherever it takes us, but it's probably going to leave us in Scotland.
I guess we're probably going to go to Donalaith. That's my guess.
Yes.
We'll go to the mythical place.
That's where the wedding, I think, will be.
Absolutely.
The potential wedding massacre.
Yeah. Are they going to kill that giant cow too? That's what I want to know.
Are we going to eat the giant cow?
What sort of cow was that, by the way? Are all cows that fluffy in Scotland? I want a cow that fluffy.
They have that Highland cows there that are so cute. But I don't know that they get as large as that particular cow. But maybe that cow's been drinking milk, so...
Well, okay. Do cows with horns... Do they also give milk? I thought the ones with horns were all male.
No. I think that with the Highland cows, I think some of them have horns that are the lady horns. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Good.
They're lady horns. They have
I got real surprised when she first reached under that one. I was like, that's a bull though, right?
The only reason I have any sort of knowledge about cows is because I follow this gal on the internet who has both a horse farm and then like a miniature animal farm. So she's got these tiny Highland cows and they're so cute.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. All right. We'll find out what happens to the cow next week.
We'll find out what's going to happen to the cow.
Until then, we have been your hosts. I'm Joel.
I'm Ashley.
And we are the Articulate Coven.
Thanks for listening to The Articulate Coven. If you enjoyed the show, check out our groups on Facebook and Discord. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Or find us at articulatecoven.com and wherever you listen to podcasts.
Bye.